course, I'm sure most of you are wondering why we are outside here today, because but we are joined with one of the super bikers who is actually a Team Kenya super biker. And when we speak about matters super biking and the MotoGP, I'm sure most of you, the first thing that comes in mind is the famous Red Bull, and also there is Espargaro. Is that so? Yes. But right about now we have Kennedy Marete, who is going to tell us more concerning even yesterday East African Championship Superbike. Yeah. What went down, Kennedy?
So yesterday we had the first event of the year, where the Superbike racers from the East African region converged together at the Whistling Morans racing track in the river for the first annual event. There was supposed to be a total of about 8 of them, but unfortunately due to COVID-19 regulations and this being a government-sanctioned event, we were not able to proceed. But now that the government let us start doing closed circuit events, we were able to hold the first race yesterday, which was a thundering success.
And just looking at what the performance were yesterday, yes. I might, okay, I'll be safe to say that most of the Kenyans impressed on that particular track. Can we say that you have been well equipped in terms of the proper infrastructure to guide you when we are talking of super biking in the country?
Yes, I would be very happy to say that Kenyans have come a long way in terms of dominating the East African Superbike Racing Championships, in that we have a lot of talent that is budding and rising very fast, to the extent that we have the fastest racers in the East African region, who have not only been able to shine here, but also go to South Africa and shine there as well. Yesterday during the track race, some of the budding champions, including Evanson Mwangi, commonly known as Acid Boy, they were able to impress, seeing a 600cc bike going to the track against 1000cc bikes, and not only beating them but also lapping them. It means that we have talent that is really growing very fast.
Okay, maybe to just explain the technicalities that come around, because we are used to the 1000cc bikes. Is there a difference between the 600cc, because you said someone in the 600cc beat the people in the 1000cc?
Yes, I will tell you, when it comes to bikes, the bigger the engine, especially for sport bikes, the faster the machine. But now, you need skill to be able to control the kind of power that you have in between you. So Evans was able to take a bike which has 600 cc's and about 115 horsepower against bikes which have 1000cc and around 210, 215 horsepower, and beat them on the track convincingly, to the extent that he left them with a large gap, and 2 of the 3 competitors who were there were lapped by him. And you see, that is something we've never seen before. It's unprecedented. Bikes are put in different categories so that there is no unfair advantage, but that unfair advantage has already
been. So looking at now the categories, can we be safe to say that the 1000cc is actually inashinda Kimpango, Demio, Vitz?
I think the best way to put it is this is a 400cc bike.
It's a 400cc bike.
It's only 48 horsepower. If you do not have a turbocharged vehicle that is more than 3000cc, you are not going to have any chance of even seeing this bike on the road. And it's only 48 horsepower. So when we start talking about 600cc's and 1000cc's, those are the categories of bikes which will pass you unless you have maybe a very fast helicopter or something of the sort.
And you had actually earlier mentioned to me that looking at your team, most of the competitors have really outshined when we talk about them participating and being and maybe creating the larger picture in terms of better performance.
Yes.
Why is that so?
So I race for a team that is known as Octane Racing Team. That is a team that has fielded 4 very, very talented racers, including Acid Boy Evans, we have Farouk Bassam, we have Peter Onyoike, and I, commonly known as Wakili Timon. If you look at the performances from yesterday, all our racers were able to break records of that track. As I've mentioned earlier on, Evans Acid Boy was able to beat all the 1000cc participants. And then on our part on the 400cc, we had 2 bikers who broke the record for the 400cc category with lap times of 1 minute and 9 seconds.
1 minute 9 seconds.
Which were the third fastest lap times on the track yesterday. Only second to Evans Acid Boy, and the guy who's joining me on the set today is known as Dr. David Karuri, riding a 1000cc.
And by the way, Dr. David Karuri is actually here on course.
Yes.
And maybe if we can just take David Karuri, because he's also one of the veteran racers.
Yeah, he has been the guy who's trained most racers in the region. He's really been doing this and spent a lot of effort trying to make this championship racing kind of possible. Because before people were just riding their bikes haphazardly. And then Dr. David Karuya and his friends, a few other like-minded bikers, thought it would be safe for there to be a safe environment where you can come and do your racing without, doing it like hooligans on the streets. So that's how they formed the Superbike Association, under which now we have been racing on the close track circuits as opposed to racing on open roads, which is a bit dangerous.
And maybe looking at the safety that has entangled the bike industry, because we are looking at the safety matters. Most of the people really fear these speed bikes.
Yeah. It's easy to be afraid of something you cannot control or something you cannot understand. When you're used to driving maybe at your comfort speeds of between 80 and 100 kilometers an hour, and then someone passes you as if you standing on at the side of the road, it can be a bit intimidating. But then the thing about these machines is there's a lot of technology that has been put into their development such that they are very safe. They have been designed to do those kind of speeds, and they have been designed to do it safely. So it's not just about going fast, it's going fast but safely. But we don't advocate for people to do that on the streets. We advocate for people to do that on the tracks where it is safe. You are alone, you don't have cars, changing lanes all of a sudden. You don't have pedestrians and animals crossing. You do not have, other people trying to do hooliganism or coming from the other side of the road. You have an environment where you can concentrate on developing your skill and actually competing competitively.
And maybe just some few weeks ago, we witnessed Caleb Omoyo, the famous biker, but now the bicycle, not the motorcycle, because he was knocked down at Thika super highway. And is there a law that maybe governs you bikers in the country, or maybe protects you in such kind of a way?
We have traffic laws, Cap 403 of the traffic laws of Kenya. They are supposed to designate rules which guide each and every road user. There's no special interest or special privileges given to any road user. We are all equal in the eyes of the law. So it is upon us as road users to not only be responsible on our part, but to also care about the plight of other road users. May it be pedestrians, may it be drivers, may it be motorcyclists or even cyclists. What we see on the roads nowadays is people who think they have bigger privileges or bigger rights to use the road, such that you see, especially drivers, thinking it is their right to push a motorcycle or a pedocyclist off the road so that they can, pass them. Whereas if they were patient and, wait like 5 or 10 seconds, you spare someone else's life. Why would saving 5 seconds or 10 seconds of your life be worth killing somebody or ruining somebody's life by maybe giving them life-threatening injuries? You see, it's all about common sense. There is nobody that is more special than the other one, unless maybe it's like an ambulance or a fire truck, which should be given way because the law stipulates the same. Everybody else should respect all other road users and give them their space on the road so that they can be able to use that road safely.
And maybe looking at yesterday's championship, I witnessed that most of the people in that line, they were young tanks in that particular field. Are you growing them to a new level that you are training them to become maybe pro super bikers in some way? Because I also saw Chege, and Chege is actually a competitor who is so young. He won the 600cc category.
Yeah. So what happens is veteran racers have created a platform where talent can bud, where talent can be discovered from wherever it is and be grown. So before I joined the racing, field or the racing industry, I wouldn't have, just walked into any place and say I'm a talented racer and I want to race. I found things that have been put in place, like structure that have been put in place by various bodies like the Superbike Association and the Road Warriors community, where they organize events and they organize trainings where you are able to go practice, be noticed, be seen on the track performing very well on your bike, and then you are handpicked and invited to race in a proper racing environment. So when you see like the likes of Evanson Mwangi, the young guy we're calling Acid Boy, coming in and shining, it is because people have put in sacrifices to not only enable these kind of events to be held, but also the talent to be nurtured, in that they have to be trained. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not trained properly, you're not going anywhere. You have to be licensed. You have to have the proper gear. You have to have a bike, and it has to be in the best possible condition.
And just maybe to interrupt, because you've talked about the proper gear. Is it costly maybe having the proper gear, and if sponsors come in, do they support in terms of making you well equipped in the track?
Yes, in fact there's a lot of gear, some of which is, you can get basic gear, which is, you've seen maybe especially on the border riders. It's not the best quality. It still does its job, but it's not the best quality. But when you start talking about now going for racing where the speeds being, talked about are a bit on the higher side, you need to have expensive gear, which is designed to cater for you in case you have a very bad accident. So when sponsors come through, they are able to help us offset the cost of racing, and it's shoot very, very good.
And Karuri is actually on set, and Karuri yesterday actually scooped a lot of awards when we are talking of matters superbiking, and just to drag him because he's coming, staki nigongwe na the superbike. Karuri was actually yesterday at the National Superbike Championship. Karuri actually scooped the #1 position, and just to get Karuri, maybe as he turns, Karuri.
Yeah.
Safari imekuwa ndefu.
Imekuwa refu bwana. Huku kupata hii place ni ngumu, lakini tumeshukuru.
Okay, so Karuri,
yeah.
Maybe if you could briefly describe about yesterday's encounter, the East African Superbike Championship that was held in Nairobi yesterday.
Yes.
Because you managed to scoop the top prize over there.
Yeah, that was it was a very important event, in line with the fact that with the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Sports guidelines, getting back on track with motorsports. So it was the first event in actually in motorsports, in Superbike motorcycling fraternity, which we are very proud about, and it went very well. We had almost 20 participants. Of course, there were no spectators, but they were watching us with the help of Switch TV and the rest. So we really love about that. Yes.
And you mentioned that you think you are still getting old, but then you are still beating the young tucks in the particular court. How is that so?
Well, with age comes some experience. But I can tell you, these young men in Octane Racing and the other teams that are there, Beth Mobility, Red Zone, the Blade Dog Racing team, all those teams, they really have some really fast guys. I know I'm still leading the pack, but I know it's not for long. Yeah.
And maybe just to demystify, and Marete, you can help me with this one. There is something that you both have in common, that you are not only bikers, you do have professional lines. Like, for instance, he mentioned to me you are a lawyer. How does that come in line?
Biking is something that you can incorporate into any aspect of any career, in that the way you travel to work every morning is by car. That makes you a driver. So if you choose to be traveling to work by a bike, that makes you a motorcyclist. And you can decide to push that to a larger level where during your free time, you're able to spare time and go to the racetrack and practice to the extent that you become skilled, or your skill level is much higher than the regular rider. That's now you start being referred to as a racer. So that's now how you find ourselves here. Because if you go to a normal riding school, you become a motorcyclist. But if you go to, let's say, Blade Dogs riding school for advanced riders, you become a racer. So there's a lot involved. But I can tell you this, it's a normal life. I ride to court, I ride to meetings, I ride to pretty much everywhere I go. And it becomes part of your life. It's nothing out of the ordinary.
And maybe now, Anthony, who is a doctor. David, who is a doctor. Yeah.
Well, it's very similar to Achilles' story. I've been riding for over 25 years, and I still use the bike for leisure and for work. This is not the bike I was racing with yesterday. So this is the one I use for, if I want to go for stuff here and there. The one at the racetrack is purely for racing. And I can tell you for free, these bikes have saved lives. Once upon a time, I was able to traverse Nairobi, 3 big hospitals in Nairobi, and save 3 lives. Being a surgeon, time is an important aspect. So I was able to operate on 3 different patients in 3 corners. If I was in my car, I would not be able to get there. But more importantly, it's not just about racing. It's using the motorcycles and the Superbike Association as a club to reach other people. For instance, if Wakili here stands up and talks about something professional, and something about motorsports to other people, and they know he's a professional, then they know he's not just any ordinary person, and they tend to listen better. So it's a conduit. It's a conduit. You have fun doing it, and and you also help people.
And have you ever been injured when we are in this kind of line? Because we witness even the border people, there may be grisly injuries that outcome them. So have you guys ever witnessed, maybe have you ever experienced an injury in terms of maybe kuanguka pale barabarani or something of that sort?
Okay, one thing I'll tell you for sure is the severity of the injuries you experience on the roads are phenomenal, okay? But if you compare them with the venues where we race, which are race tracks only, Wakili himself has fallen severally. I've fallen severally. But because you can see the gear he's putting on, that's his race suit, his race gear, you get up. You get up, there's no injury.
So you're not vulnerable to injuries when you're in the proper gear?
The gear makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. Plus, on top of that, the track is purposely built for that. It's built for these motorcycles to go upon and push to certain limits. Okay, so if you do that at a racetrack in a proper environment, you're not going to get significantly injured. In yesterday's event, we had a couple of crashes. You were there.
Yeah.
You saw.
Okay,
They went up and they walked up.
And maybe just to cut you short, because I'm sure Cliff really wants to get a ride. And I've witnessed actually the ride over here, and those have been their sentiments. So right now, if you just see the bikers kwa streets pale, really respect them, because they are one of a kind bikers. And maybe I'll have to hear what Cliff has to say about this particular matter. So back to you, Cliff. But for now, I think I actually rided on your bike. So this time round, I'll ride on David's bike.
Where are we going?
Should be in full gear.
In full gear. Hapo